Good morning, everybody. I think it's 10 a.m. so we can start with our webinar this year, or this week's webinar, Challenging Times for Finance and Controlling, Dashboards, Augmented Analytics and Planning. My name is Christoph Kurzke, and together with Roland Merz, my colleague, we will be your hosts, and Roland will present the webinar today. Before we start, let me just give you a quick administrative information. The webinar will take approximately 45 minutes. Please feel free to ask questions via the chat functionality on the right side of your screen via the GoToWebinar toolbar. We're looking forward to receive your feedback, and if you feel free to ask any questions, and we will come back to you after the webinar. In order to avoid background noises, all participants will be muted automatically during the whole session. Before we start, let me give you a short introduction to our company. CubeServ has been an SAP service partner for almost 20 years now. We're focusing completely on business intelligence, data warehousing, and analytics. Our head office is in Rapperswil, Switzerland. We do have companies, daughter companies in Germany, Austria, and Croatia. We are an SAP Gold partner throughout our group, and we are recognized. We do have the SAP recognized expertise for business intelligence and data warehousing. Over the years, we were able to fulfill more than 5,000 national and international BI and analytics projects for our customers. Right now, we are about 130 consultants throughout the group. We do not focus on any industry or lines of business. We do have customers from all industries and backgrounds. As you can see on the next slides, we put together some customers where we are right now, or where we were doing projects for in Switzerland, in Germany, and in Austria. Today's topic is focusing on a topic which rather people from a finance background are interested in or are challenged with, and right now Roland will take over now, and we'll talk about what challenging times we all experience right now for finance and controlling, and what we think, why we think SAP Analytics Cloud will help you to get through these difficult times. Roland?
Yes, thank you, Christoph. Good morning, everyone. Glad to see that you take your time and participate in our webinar. I'd like to start with some, let's say, some survey results from a large survey which was done in 2019, where they ask, what does the enterprise need from finance? So maybe the list would look a bit different if we would do it right now, but I think just slightly. Maybe the last item here, manage enterprise risk, would move up a bit. Nevertheless, if we look at again a bit our main topics, so just 1 second, I need to. Okay, so I'm back here. So my mouse was started to move around a bit on its own. So I hope that's solved now. If we look at the topics, also main topics of CubeServ, we certainly one of our focus topics is the digital transformation in companies, and of course the whole part related to enterprise data and analytics. Of course, all this sort of also are sort of connected to data analytics at the end of the day, but these are our main topics, and you can see these are like the top in the top 3 of all these goals. So if we know now what the enterprise thinks, which goals must be supported by finance, the question of course comes back to what has finance to to deliver on it, or what will we have to do to respond. So if we focus here, these are also the top 10. If we focus here maybe just on the lower right button, the critical development zone, we have improved analytical capabilities. Yes, that's important. We should take advantage of the new finance technologies and deployment models. This could be RPA, depending on what company you are, maybe with nearshoring capabilities. There's a lot of topics around here. Definitely modernize application platforms. I mean, we all do analytics, reporting. I think whenever a company starts operating, it's after the first month in operation, you start analyzing the data. So some systems are old, they're outdated, they are not flexible anymore. Every change takes months to do. The business cannot do it. So every time you want to have a new KPI or a new report, you have to write a change request to IT. IT takes 3 months, and then until you get the report with the new KPI, you already have the next KPI, which you need to deliver. So with modern platforms, this can go much faster. Then, very important, if you say you have to improve the analytic capabilities, you have to modernize platforms, the questions definitely comes up. Okay, what kind of skills do I need? How do I need to maybe also develop the skills in my team, or do I need new skills in my team? For example, a data scientist. That's a question. Do I need a data scientist in finance? Is a data scientist in IT? These are so organizational questions. And of course, also here, improve the function agility. Yeah, the world moves fast. There are always new challenges coming. Right now, I mean, we all have unknown challenges, which all of us never had these challenges before. So it's also, it's, I think, tough enough to work on these challenges. So it would be really helpful to have at least the IT, the applications in order to support that. That's a bit a different view on the same question somehow. If we have here on the left side, we have the corporate management, or let's say here the ask. So what are they asking? They of course, they need information. They always need more information. They don't really know why it takes so long. Maybe they just saw that just investment again, 2 million in IT, and the reports are not faster. Very often they don't really know what controlling actually could do. They have expectations, but they might not exactly know what controlling is capable of. They always want to have more operational sources. Just the ERP is not enough anymore. You have maybe your CRM system, you have internal data, you have external data. If you are in merchant acquisition, you buy a company, you want to integrate, of course, this data fast as possible in your reporting from the new company, etc. So this is ongoing. Then, yeah, looking back in the mirror, it's one thing, which is nice. I think we are all quite good in doing that. It's always easy to talk about the last month figures, why they were good, why they were not so good, to find explanations for it. That's quite okay, as long as I'm stating the obvious here. But if maybe the last month was not so good, and let's say the obvious reasons don't work as an explanation, I need to have value-added analysis, and for that I need time, or I need a tool who delivers that. If we move now to the right part here, the provider, or in this case now the controlling, what do they have to offer, but also the underlying issues in offering that? Yeah, all running around, gathering data, copy paste, then reconciling data. I mean, I'm sure everybody who's in the call can tell his own story about reconciling data, how painful that can be. Regardless if you spend 1 million or 10 million on your IT in the last years, I'm sure you're still working with spreadsheets or Excels. Also here, copy paste. Then the challenge here, I just said before, they want to have more operational resources. So you have now the challenge to bring it together. here we talk about data quality, master data. How can I combine the data sources then in one report? On which granularity does it make sense? So quite some challenges here. Then, because you are so busy up here with all this, the focus is basically only on the standard content. Otherwise, you don't make the timeline. Basically copy paste from previous months. If you talk about monthly reporting, adjust the numbers, hopefully adjust the comments. And then at the end of the day, I think controlling could do much more, could deliver much more results, much better results. But since you are busy with all this above, with all this here above, you're just running out of time. So if you look now in the middle, we have the customer or the management. Yeah, they don't really know what could be done. As said before, you as a provider, you don't have the time, you don't have the bandwidth to really analyze the business, to really give comments and insights to your management so that they could start maybe an initiative on that. And that's why quite often this ask and offer is kind of out of balance. Then this is not a new slide. You might have seen it in one or another way. I just like it also to start discussion with clients, or even if you take this slide and you talk to your IT or to your CFO, to your management, it's very nice to see what's the own view on this topic. So who thinks where we are in the company? So if you start on the left on the pillar descriptive, yes, I think all of us have this in order. We know we have the traditional reporting, monthly, quarterly reporting. We also have some tool for ad hoc reporting. We might have some all-up online analyticals or with slice, dice. So I think we are quite okay. We are quite safe explaining the history. Why did it happen? That's already a bit more tricky, maybe, depending on your system, depending on your data. There, what I mentioned before, if it's, let's say, stating the obvious, exchange rate moved unexpectedly. Okay, everybody understands this. You can even show the differences in your reporting. That's not such a, a big thing. But if there are if it goes into correlation, so one impacted the others, that's not obvious anymore in the data, unless maybe one guy really knows the company and the markets, everything very good. But I think that will stop the moment if you are a global company. Nobody can understand how the whole world works probably. Then predictive and prescriptive, also the so-called advanced analytics part. That's where it gets interesting. That's what everybody actually wants to have. The management will probably tell you, or your CFO, you have now terabytes of data in our system. So why is the solution not able to tell us the future? To make a forecast, to run simulations, to use machine learning, all these, let's say, new fancy things, they are there. They get more accessible. I mean, they have been around for years, solutions for that, but very often they were, I would say, expensive to run. You really need to have special knowledge. And if you're not just, let's say, if you're not a multi-billion-dollar company, you also might not have the budget to hire, let's say, high-paid data scientists who will do this, who will do all of that for you. So this, with the newer tools, like now also the SAP Analytics Cloud, which I will show you later on live in the system, this all gets more accessible to the end user without really needing to have, let's say, now a study in statistics or a bachelor or master degrees in machine learning or something. So the Analytics Cloud here, on the bottom, the arrow covers all of this in one single tool. The Analytics Cloud also supports you, of course, if you, it's maybe a bit the long-term controlling path, if you think about what's the next step in my controlling, what are the services I can offer as a controlling. You can the idea would be to put up of course, the best possible management reporting. Once you have this in place, you would also have solved, let's say, the issues with data quality, master data management. Then once you have a solid base, you can also do proper forecasting and planning scenarios with value driver trees. All this is covered in the Analytics Cloud, all these features. Then move on to the consolidation statutory reporting. That's not part of the SAP Analytics Cloud. That's part of the solution called SAP Group Reporting. However, the whole reporting, the whole analytic part is integrated in the SACC. So if you use SAP Group Reporting, you will also work with the Analytics Cloud. Let's look now at the Analytics Cloud. Here I like to focus on the middle part here, the analytic capabilities. What is covered by the Analytics Cloud? So we have the whole business intelligence part, so analysis, reporting, geo-reporting, self-service BI, charts, tables, all this is covered in this part. Planning, we can do the whole planning. We have a lot of planning functionalities in it, as well as a value driver tree. And this is built for the end user, so for you. So this you can do without involvement of the IT. You don't need an IT developer to do this work. Then we have predictive, just as I mentioned before. There it depends a bit on your organization. Some part of it might definitely be handled by the controlling team, and some might be more IT related, depends a bit on, let's say, how deep you go with your predictive, how much time you're going to invest in your predictive scenarios. Analytics designer, if you have somebody in controlling who likes to do scripting, etc., fine, you can do it. It's all in the same tool. But here I would rather see it would move more to the IT, in my opinion. Here you can build your very, let's say, own maybe drop-down box. You can put a table with tab strips. You can also create here a whole workflow where you maybe start with an analysis, with a report, and then jump into your ERP system. So this is possible here. And embedding, this means you embed what you build here, you embed this in all your other applications. So there I also see the IT involved, because here we have then also matters like data security, single sign-on, etc. But all in all, the idea of the Analytics Cloud is really an end user tool which can be run by the business. So why do we think the SAC is really attractive and should be looked at? And just here, you can use the SAP Analytics Cloud without any other SAP tool in place. So you can access basically any data source with it. So you don't need, there's no prerequisite to have a SAP ERP or SAP HANA, etc. So point one, it's an all-in-one solution. So what I mentioned before, analytics, reporting, planning, AI, machine learning, that's all in the same tool. It's one login, it's one tool. And therefore, you also have the same touch and feel. If you do now an analytics part, if you do a planning part, it's always the same way to work with it. And the tool, which is nice, basically zero effort for end user training, because it's built in a way what the end user expects to use. And that's also important, maybe to mention, the SAC was really developed from scratch. With I think over 1,500 developers working on it right now also. And it was not something SAP brought together and then mix and matched in a tool. It was really developed from scratch. Then number two, data acquisition. Basically, you can access any data from any source. If they are on cloud, if they're on-premise, SAP, SAP, non-SAP, you can access the data. Number three, enterprise readiness. I think that's really one big strength of all the SAP tools. And especially here now, you can start with one user, 2 users, and then scale it up to 1,000 users or do a global rollout. You don't have to worry about hardware. The only thing you have to worry is the license per user, of course. That's what you need. everything else taken care of by SAP. So you can expect to work the dashboard the same speed if you have 500 users on your tenant, or 800 or 1,000. User-oriented, this is, I will show you afterwards, also in the live demo. Licenses, these are the published license prices. If you want to start negotiating with SAP, we can assist you here. That depends a bit, of course, also on what kind of, if you already have a SAP license contract, depends a bit on how that works. But let's say if you're new to SAP, the minimal investment would be this $22 per month for 12 months, so $250, $60, and you have a really nice tool to work with. And last but not least, product strategy. SAP repeated in a statement of direction over and over again that the SAC is the strategic tool for all this analytics reporting part. So there's a huge roadmap. They are delivering on the roadmap. There are continuously rollout of new releases. Normally it's on a quarterly basis. If you don't want to wait that long, you can move to a 2-weekly basis on a fast track program. So you get always the latest releases. And I'm working now since 2 years regularly with the SAC, and I don't know how many release changes I had, and it always works. So the quality of the rollouts is really excellent. To say here, if you work longer with SAP, you might have a bit another experience from other tools after release changes. That's a lot of work here. You start the SAC in the morning, you see that there was an update, and I never had to redo any dashboards or so. Looking at the main components of the SAC before starting the demo, just to give you a bit an overview, we have here on the bottom, of course, the data sources. Here, there are two different connection types. So one is live data connections. That means you always access the data live from the source system. This can also be SAP or non-SAP. That's the nice thing here, is that your data always stays behind your firewall. So the data doesn't leave your company. It's not replicated in the cloud. There's no data footprint in the cloud. Or you can also import the data, the import data connection, which then means you really upload the data into the Analytics Cloud tenant. Then we have the model. That's basically where you can work with the data. You can add hierarchies. You can create custom calculations, units. You can add restricted key figures, calculate the key figures. So that's all done in the model. That functionality depends a bit on the data connection, depends a bit also on the source system. So that's not always the same, but the system will guide you automatically. So it will not give you the option to do something and then, at the end it tells you, not really today, it doesn't work. So you will only, this goes through the whole SAC also when you build charts, etc. The system will only give you the options which are really also working and available. Then the story, for me, that's the heart of the whole thing. SAP calls it story, or you could also call it a dashboard. So based on data sources, or many data sources as you want, you can build your stories. A story has at least one page, but can have 50 pages. And in this story, it's all what I mentioned before. So on this page, you can combine planning, you can combine predictive, you can combine data sources. So it's fully flexible. It's really up to you how you want to build it up. And then you can also, there is for iOS, on the Android, there are mobile apps. So you can consume it on your mobile devices. Of course, you can also just start the browser on your mobile device and access the story. That works as well. But the apps have some added functionality. So I would rather recommend, if you use tablet or iPhone or Android, use the app which is supplied or which is provided by SAP. Then the digital boardroom, that's an optional part on top. So the The idea of the digital boardroom is actually to collect pages from different stories in one presentation. So you could get the overview page from finance story, you can get the overview page from HR, from supply chain, add this together, talk to your management board, because they might only be interested on the overview pages and not on the detailed pages. Then what you can also do, that's this arrow here on the side. This is what I want to show you also in the demo. If you just get an Excel sheet from your colleague and yeah, too many numbers in it to understand something or to get any insight, you can just upload it directly into your into the SACC and go from there. You don't need to worry about the model. The SACC will recognize the data and give you quite fast possibility to explore the data. So let me now jump to the Analytics Cloud. So that's the welcome screen of the Analytics Cloud. You can already have here, you can, whatever I show you, it's freely configurable. So the colors, font sizes, you can really bring in your corporate identity here. So that's just now one idea. My favorite color is blue. Maybe you want to have everything in black, no problem, you can adjust this. Here you can just choose, these are so-called widgets. You can just say some widgets from different stories you can place on your home screen, because you might always want to know some of these numbers here, and then you might already see if you need to start the story or not. So let's start now here our story. This is now our so-called finance analytics story. It consists here of different pages. We have here the menu bar. I will close that. Then you can use logos. You can put the time. Here we have real-time access to widgets with real-time exchange rates. If you're more interested here, you can, for example, jump here into a more detailed page with tickers. This is external provider, so that's not from an SAP system, that's from an external provider, but it's fully interactive. So this all works here as you would call it on any other side. Then here we have the exchange rates, for example, an exchange rate table. It will always show you the changes, and then you have here market overview. So that's from external content, which you can easily integrate. Here on the right side, we have an RSS feed, where you can also, for example, here Swiss Stock Exchange, always real time. Then here we have our homepage integrated or just linked, and you can also just link, for example, to a document. Here the success story with Villeroy and Boch about the SAC project. So there's this, apart from showing data from your data set, you can also add here additional content. Then if we go here to detail page, these widgets can be really configured as you like. And just a second, I have to, something is covering here. Okay, I have here on the top, I have controls and edit. So right now we are in the view mode, so the end user would have this. But if you have the permission to edit stories, you just click on edit. And now you will see here, these are the widgets. So what we can do, if I say, okay, I want to change, I don't like the sorting here. I want to have my net profit here, and I want to have my gross profit here. I just drag and drop. And now what I always say, that's a true, what you see is what you get tool, because I change this, I go back to view, and I can immediately see the result. So there's no need to have any desktop appliance or any rendering machine or deployment, and then you go to the home page, and then you see it's not nice, you go back. So here you can work very fast in an agile way, really develop fast. So if you now look, for example, at the gross profit margin, I have here on top right, I have the designer. The designer has styling and builder. So we are now in the builder. This shows me the data source. So where's my data coming from? I have here the possibilities. I have different chart types to choose from. I have here the measures I could add here. I could add here measures. As you can see, you can even here now, you don't need to go in the model. You can even here create additional calculations if you like to have, or you access here basically the numbers. If I add here now, for example, the gross profit, and you also saw it's immediately changing here. Now it's a bit too small, but it added the gross profit now here down below. So that's quite easy. And just to show you, we have here now this 389. If I go here on the right button, I remove this, it's gone. So it's really, you always see what you do immediately. And the same is here with styling. If I go here now on net profit, let's say I want to have a background color. I like to have borders. I can even say the borders, I want to have a radius on the side, the style. I can pick here a color, strength. So I see again immediately how it looks like. I have here, depending a bit on the pages I use, I have here similar to what we know from PowerPoint. I can overlay widgets. I can work on the fonts. I can choose which font I want to change. I have different defaults here. So here okay, that's now not so nice, but I think it showed you the possibilities you have, number formatting. So all this is done here in the same tool. If you go back to view, we saw the result. So, but what you might have seen now is it's really, I can only recommend you to, when you start with your first dashboard, start with an agile way, start building the first 1-2 pages, and then try to compromise or agree on a corporate identity. So which fonts do I need? For example, these numbers, which size do these numbers have? And so on. The colors, background, colors of the texts, etc. Because you can also work with templates, and this helps because it's easy to change. But if you have 10 pages and you need to change everywhere the font, even though it's easy, it will take time. And what I saw, even if you have corporate identity guidelines, very often this dashboarding part is not covered in it. And you cannot use the PowerPoint corporate identity, especially if it comes to fonts, because it's probably going to be too small to see something. So it's really worthwhile to work here on a new system. Then if you go, for example, here now to profit loss, of course, you can do with hierarchies. If this is now profit loss, it could be a customer hierarchy, of course. You can see now here, for example, I did on the posting account, I did the full number here. I scaled it. You can use the HICT-like actual plan. So here you have waterfall functionality with sums. So domestic foreign gives me the total sales revenue until I get the profit loss. So all of this, you have a wide flexibility of the tools. Then one thing which we'll also cover in a later webinar, but I just want to show you a bit of it, is automated forecast. So the system generates a forecast based on the previous, based on the available numbers. And it gives me here an, if you see now on the far left, there's always a pop-up. So wherever you go, there's a pop-up coming up. So we have here an upper and lower confidence bound. It always shows here the history of the automated forecast. So you can see, okay, that's my actual, and that would have been the forecast. So you can work on it to see if the forecast is sort of okay. The idea is it gives you an idea. It's the idea of this automated forecast is not that you click on the button, go to your CFO and say, okay, I've done now the forecast for the next year in 5 minutes. But it gives an idea. It can give, let's say, a starting point then for building a proper forecast. So this is just to give you more insights into the data with the help of the system. The same is here with the insights, which we'll also cover in another one. This is also with machine learning. The system generates you this additional insight into your data, and again, can be a starting point for further analysis. So the spreadsheet features here, this is, I think, quite nice because maybe I can convince you to forget a bit about Excel in future. We have here a simple table, net revenue, EBIT. These are all coming, this data is all coming from the data source. What I can do now, if I click on net revenue, right mouse click, I get here additional calculation. So I could add a calculation. Doesn't now not really make sense in this setup with the months in front, but that's an option. I can do this on row, but on column, but also on a row level. I have the same. I can do the same, exactly the same functionality. If I combine two columns, I get different calculations. Now I can calculate with these two columns. So let's just say net revenue minus EBIT. With easy calculation, it's now this column here is added. It's called subtract because I choose subtract. I can change the title, and what's also good here now to see. So if you go in the edit mode, you can switch on the formula bar, and you see now here on the left side, top left, the formula. So it's B2 minus C2. That's B2 minus C2. So this gives this result here. And I can now here basically Excel-like, okay, just to show you, I don't want to write now here, times 1.5, for example, and it's calculating, it's recalculating here. So this is, I can, let's say, with the basic formulas, I can start and then I can add my own formula. I also get kind of a formula editor similar to what we know from Excel. If you start typing a formula in Excel, there will be a pop-up with further explanation that's similar here. And you can also add columns, hide columns here if you want to go maybe from one result to another, but you might need one or two help columns or rows. So you can do that. So basically you can extend here. And the nice thing is this is the data source here. So whatever you do here is not written back to the data source. So you're not changing anything maybe for another user who uses the same data source for some charts or something. You're not changing that. This is just here on the view mode. If you save it, it's of course here next time when you start the story, but it's not written back. So these numbers are not written back to the data model or maybe even back to the source system in your system. Then just of course, financial figures, basically, I mean, the tool can show any numbers if they are from finance or else. This is just to show you the value driver tree possibility, then combined with the reporting, but this we cover in the planning webinar, which is coming up. Then risk, you can also do geo reporting. you have different card types which are available. And then one quick thing before I show you the last part and from the demo, responsive. So you work with responsive pages when you want to use it in your mobile app. That's a bit different. That's from the configuration or from the possibilities with formatting a bit different, because it has to show on the smart device. But the nice thing here again is you have a device preview. So you don't need to start the SAAS on your iPhone. You can, it's basically like you can say here, okay, I have an iOS device, I have a small phone, or let's say I have a large tablet, and that's how it's going to look like on your large tablet. And it's interactive. You can scroll, so you already see if you need to change something, if you can read the numbers, if you need to scale it. So that's again really what you see is what you get, without the need to jump somewhere. So now let me show you the last part. For that, I go back to the home screen. Okay, I don't want to save what I did. So what I have here is I have a simple Excel file. I just do drag and drop. I could drop it here, prepare a model. So I would get in the model mode. I could work on it. I could clean it, etc. But today I'm feeling lucky. I like the name. So what I'm uploading here is data from a US telecommunication company, from the marketing about churn. So what customers are leaving, who is not leaving. And it's a simple Excel file with data in it. Now the system, the data was uploaded in the SACC tenant, and the system automatically tries to recognize what are the measures in the Excel and what are the dimensions. So if I click on here on monthly charges, I click on the contract length, the running time, I get here numbers. And then I can also show the dimensions. And then I can start, let me just say the monthly charges. I can start working here. I can say, okay, let me have a drill down on the contract types. So I get here an automatic drill down. Then I can also say, I only want to have the DSL internet service, the numbers for that. So here, basically, I can drill down through, or I can slice and dice through my whole data set. This option is also available for other data sets. I mean, basically on any data sets, you can do that. But here it was just the idea to show you, if you upload an Excel, you get very fast, you get some ideas behind. You can change here, the system will suggest you a solution. And then if you say, okay, I like this now, I want to really use this maybe in a story, you just copy it to a page. And then you have here the full flexibility like before, again with the designer. You see here now the data source, that's the Excel I uploaded. And you have here the full flexibility to start here working on your tables or charts. And what I will show you next time is then this functionality. And if you talk about augmented analytics, that's now also here we just tell the system, go through this data set and give us insights. Search for correlations, search for simulation possibilities. So this will be covered in the next part. And that concludes my demo, and I will hand over now to, I have one, now that's the conclusion. So I really think we can check a lot of the boxes here. We didn't show you everything today because it's, I mean, the tool has so many options, but it's really a business user tool. It's self-service BI, it's flexible, it's fast, it covers, I think, all the needs you might have in your daily work and can really support you in a fast way. So now over to you, Christoph.
Yeah, thank you, Roland.
You're welcome.
So yeah, I hope you enjoyed our webinar this week, and we do have some upcoming webinars throughout the next weeks and months. One will be on May 27th regarding the issue of augmented analytics, new ways to work, and then webinar regarding the whole planning issue on June 18th, simplified planning and analytics with one cloud solution. And I would also like to take the possibility to show you we do have another webinar on May 27th regarding the whole issue of the cost center accounting. And so if that's an interesting topic for you, we would be happy if you join us there. And since I don't see any question yet in our chat function, thank you very much for participating today, and hope you enjoyed it, and please feel free to come back to us anytime. And the whole slide deck will be shared to you after the webinar today or tomorrow, and please feel free to contact us anytime. Thank you very much, and bye-bye. Have a great afternoon.